This week, Emmet and I get back to discussing Jack Kirby's 1970s work, looking at Captain America and the Falcon, issues 212 and 213, in which, sure, Cap faces the Red Skull, but also a living castle with a big toothy mouth. Why isn't that on the cover? Also, weird underutilized assassin, the Night Flyer. First, as always, I'd like to thank our patrons for helping to keep the show going. You can pitch in by pledging at least $2 a month at patreon.com/deconcomics. This is Tim.
This is Emmet.
And this is Deconstructing Comics. Welcome to Deconstructing Comics. This is Tim in Tokyo with Emmet in country Victoria, Australia. I remembered even as long as it's been since the last time we did this. With my vacation worried. And everything.
I always remember too late to prompt you. And where am I from, Tim?
Yeah, somewhere where there are lots of kangaroos.
Yes. I was out at the dump this morning. There's a sort of what do they call it? A waste transit center? That's what they prefer it was called.
Okay.
It was the dump. I was at the dump this morning, and there was this rise just above that sort of pit area where everyone's throwing their stuff. And I looked up at the rise, and there's all these kangaroos looking down at me. They're all just as if to suggest they're looking at it going, what are they doing? What they just created this really smelly place. These crazy humans. Yeah, they were just observing us. I thought that was funny.
Okay, so we're picking back up with Kirby's Captain America from the 70s. Starting with issue 212. This is August of 77. It's still Captain America and the Falcon. And on the cover, the blurb is Captain America, blind in huge red letters, at the mercy of the Red Skull. And Red Skull is coming up behind the blinded Cap, and he's got a huge rock over his head, and he says, "You cannot save yourself from what you cannot see." And then at the bottom, the eyes of a hero.
Really rubbing in the eyes aspect of this. Have I ever told you, Tim, that I have a huge phobia about ocular damage?
No.
Eye damage. I've a real thing about that. I get really upset with movies where that's a featured incident, where it's usually horror movies. They a lot of eye stuff. So
like me with heights.
Yeah, there you go. It's just, it's not something you can control. It's just this sort of instinctive,
Mm-hmm.
And what really bothers me about this is not necessarily the eye damage itself. That was upsetting, but the fact that, similar to the previous issue, 211, you have this focus on the cover of an incident that isn't really the subject of the issue.
Yeah.
Right? And I know the whole point is to get you to pick it off the shelf.
Yeah.
Right? But this would give you the impression that this is an issue about Captain America fighting while blind. For the majority of the issue. That is not true. The majority of the issue is Captain America and Donna Marie trying not to get digested by an animated castle that is morphing into various organs and maws and teeth, which is a fantastic image, right? The previous issue kind of suggested that on its cover, but it was the skull was the focus of the cover, so it didn't really make sense. So I kind of feel, again, if you were going to go full Cronenberg with the cover of this issue, like this amorphous, monstrous thing, I reckon a kid would pick that off the shelf. I'd be like, whatever this is, I want to read it.
Although I suppose the thought must have been that Red Skull on the cover was really going to put butts in seats, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, a castle with a huge toothy mouth also seems like a good selling point.
It's, and you could have had Red Skull sort of watching on and going, ha ha ha, he's doomed. Like you could still have Red Skull on the cover.
Even though that doesn't happen in the issue exactly. But
but
neither does this.
This is where artistic license lets comic book cover artists get away with murder sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But with this one in particular, it's because it's practically a non-event. in terms of what actually does happen within the issue. They do fight while Captain America is blinded, but it's very much a Red Skull just taunting him because he's blinded and he's in shock. He can't really defend himself. But yeah, this castle sequence is so cool, like really, really gripping.
So when we left off, Arnim Zola was going to put Cap's face on some sort of being that has Hitler's brain.
He was going to take Hitler's brain and put it in Captain America's body, I think is what he's going to do.
Something like that. Anyway, it would be Cap's face and Hitler's brain, and people would follow Cap, better face than Hitler, and then they could control everybody, control the world. And of course, Cap's not crazy about that idea.
Yes, so Cap says, you've kept that monster's brain alive since 44, and you've attached it to a strong body, but it will never wear my face. You might be right on the face issue, actually. But I made a note of that it will never wear my face, because sort of non-textually, that's not true. Because Nick Spencer years later will create the infamous Hydra Cap.
Yeah, I thought of that too.
So that actually, so somebody's read this issue and gone, well, let's actually explore what Captain Nazi with Captain America's face and charisma, what that will do. And that's the entire Secret Empire thing, which is, I don't know if you've read Secret Empire, but it doesn't really amount to a lot when you actually get down and read it. It's a lot
we talked about it for the podcast once.
Yeah, it's more shock than actual execution. But as I mentioned in the last episode, in passing, you also had the character of Dynaman in James Robinson and Paul Smith's The Golden Age, which has this exact plot. This Hitler's brain in a superhero's body. That's the spoilers for The Golden Age, everybody. But that is the sort of the reveal in The Golden Age. And I was thinking about it because, like, Kirby was always one to, when something came out and it had sort of borrowed heavily from him, like we've laughed about his whole resentment at Star Wars quite a bit, but he would notice. And it's such a one-to-one echo of this issue, of issue 212. I was like, when did this get published? Because Kirby died around the same time. So The Golden Age was first serialized in 1993. And Kirby died in February 1994. But the issue with the brain reveal might have actually happened after Kirby died.
Okay.
Because I can still imagine him getting upset. Like, who's this British bastard? And I started still reading into, like, has anyone else talked about this? And I did find a website, recent post on the website. Some websites out there, folks, still publish things. I know it's shocking, but some of them still exist. Not everything has been devoured by the algorithm just yet. There's some holdouts. But this website is called comicsarchaeology.com. I'm not familiar with the website. I haven't visited it for any other reading. But they did a piece about 2 years ago now where he made the same comparison. He actually mentioned this issue and then cited the Golden Age in the discussion of the issue. So we're not the only people to, alight upon this comparison. But he also, I appreciated the article, because then he goes and says, but wait a minute, Hitler's also the hate monger in the Fantastic Four. Right? Because there's the reveal of the mask, and it's Hitler. Nick Fury and Mr. Fantastic discover that Hitler is the hate monger. But in that same issue of the Fantastic Four, Nick Fury's like, it's probably a clone. And years later again, the same article points this out. I'm giving them their dues because they actually went down the rabbit hole in this one. Supervillain Team Up issue 17
Okay.
reveals that Zola has a bank of Hitler clones. They just keep spitting out. And one of them is explicitly on panel hate monger. So Zola has been sort of like factory
So mass
batching
producing.
Hitlers. Yeah.
Mass produced Hitler.
Yeah, there you go. So I went on a little digression because I was like, oh, has anyone else talked about this? And not only has somebody else talked about this, but this guy in comics, archaeology.com, has actually gone deep into it. So
Now, what
maybe worth a
puzzled me
read.
about this page is that Cap says you kept him alive since 44, but Hitler died in 45. So I
Well,
don't
maybe
quite.
Cap knows something we don't know.
Yeah, and maybe Marvel continuity is different, and Hitler
maybe different,
died, and Red Skull was still alive in 45. I don't know. Anyway,
In canonically in Marvel Comics, but this would have happened after this issue. But I'm going to give them this out. I'm going to give them a no prize on this one. Bucky kills Hitler, which would be before 1945.
okay.
I believe. I could be wrong on that one. So maybe Captain America is actually speaking to, well, I know for a fact that my long lost buddy is definitely still dead and not a Soviet super spy. I know for a fact that he killed Hitler and you kept him alive.
Or the one in 45 was a clone. I don't know.
Or he was a clone. They're all clones.
Yeah. As Alice Cooper sang. So, and Zola is saying, submit, I shall be kind, there'll be little pain. At my command, these walls will spray you with anesthetic chemicals. And then Donna Marie, suddenly not a damsel anymore, pitches a jar of some chemical at Zola, and it breaks and goes puff, and he says, yeah, and it starts a fire. And Cap and Anna Marie gather up more of these jars of chemicals, and he says, I love you, baby. Zola was so intrigued by Hitler's brain that he overlooked yours.
And this does lead to a wonderful little bit where Donna Maria is saying, say that again.
Yeah, say that again. You know, the part
that
about
I love you, baby.
I love you, baby. And I thought,
and he said, no, we can't talk about that now.
I thought this was going to lead to some rivalry between her and Sharon, but it doesn't. Which is probably just as well.
We don't need more cat fights in comics, people. We do not need it. But there is a line in one of the later issues in this run where the Falcon refers to your female fan base. I think it is the line.
Something like that.
So so there is an acknowledgement that they're both sort of devoted to him, and it's quite obvious to anybody else.
So the two of them race out among the flames, and they hear the castle groaning in pain. And then we switch to Sharon and Red Skull. We left Red Skull is flying her to where Cap is. And she says, "You're behaving
she
like
compliments him on being a gentleman."
Gentleman, Red Skull. I'm rather surprised. He says, "Surprise, my dear Sharon, is my most favored tactic."
And what did you immediately think of when you read that? Because I know what I did. The Spanish Inquisition from Monty Python.
Oh, okay.
Surprise.
No one expects the Spanish
Inquisition. Python fan?
No one expects a gentleman Red Skull. Okay. So, and she says, remember, I'm armed and you're not, and if you make a wrong move, I'll ... And he says, how admirable. I often regret that the Nazi philosophy excludes the strength of women.
Yeah. We're gonna circle back to this later about this idea of what makes a Nazi and whether or not Sharon can kill him, and I'll speak on that when we get to it. But yes, this sort of constant condescension towards Sharon, not just in Red Skull, but like later on, a soldier calls her pet or something, I think, and it's just this constant reminder. Well, you're just a woman, you know. in fact, of anyone we've met so far, the person who seems to be most complimentary towards her is the Red Skull, even though he's doing it in a very horrific way. like everybody else is, oh, you're just a woman, and Red Skull's like, well, we should maybe review Nazi philosophy on women. Nazi, no, was it the Red Skull? What's that Onion headline? The worst person you know is right. That one thing. The Red Skull, a feminist ally. Oh, Jesus, the right would go nuts at that.
And so he points out that ahead of them is Castle Zola. The leader is being reshaped to take his rightful place. Your precious Captain America is an important part of that project. And she says, you lie, like the congressman who yelled at Obama. Cap would never let it happen unless he was put into a position where he couldn't function. Alas, his business is full of risks, isn't it, my girl?
Oh, my God.
My girl.
Does Red Skull canonically have a German accent? I know the movie version of him kind of does a German accent, but I would assume
he is German. So. Yeah. I think he is German. I'm giving him Skeletor's voice, but
yeah, you're going Skeletor, which is fine. I that's all cool. But I do wonder, because the way he's being written, like comic book writers, when they want to write dialogue for anybody who's not from, east of Harlem, they will sort of drop all these unnecessary shorthand signifiers of foreignness into dialogue. Ay caramba, we've talked about a lot of the Spanish language characters are really get short shrift in this space, but also you've got your German characters, your French characters, your Irish characters,
Colossus.
your Scots characters. Colossus, one or two Russian terms are remembered every now and then.
Whatever.
Bourgeois. Yeah. He's not writing Red Skull with the usual German comic book language tics. That's why I asked. He's writing Red Skull in a very sort of dandy-esque English gentleman who probably has a house on the moors and a couple of hounds and goes hunting foxes every morning. That's what I'm getting from, oh, my dear, oh, alas. The way he's speaking has a sort of Lord of the Manor tone to it. And I know that was the character he is impersonating up until very recently. So I do wonder has Red Skull not broken character yet? Maybe he doesn't realize she ripped his face off. He's still behaving that part.
So we go back to the castle. There are still explosions going on in the area that Cap and Donna Maria left, and they're still carrying all these large vials of chemical, and they feel the castle moving, and it's all getting kind of wiggly and distorted. And then, we have the part where the toothy mouth appears and Cap pitches some of the chemical into the mouth. Woof! It's the sound effect. And that explodes. And I didn't understand why this column was moving towards them like horizontally. It's not falling. It's just been pitched by the building.
The castle, though, has total control over itself, and it is a creature. So it's basically, it's like when you bite off a fingernail and spit it across the room. It's basically projected that column at them. It's actually taken some of its substance, which is in the shape of a column, and then just spat it at them. That's how I took it. It's using the parts of it that are hard and dense, and then actually projecting them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so Cap senses it there in time, and he says, Donna Maria, down, and they both get down on the ground, and it flies over their heads and hits a wall and breaks through a wall.
All of this stuff for the castle, like I was saying before, is visually great. You know, we have very cramped paneling on these pages, so we're not getting a lot of real estate for this sort of...
they're all pretty close-up shots of the two of them.
Yeah, there's this amorphic monstrosity that's shifting its shape around them, threatening to digest them, swallow them, bite them, like lead them into dead ends, all these things. And I'm reading this and going, this is the basis of an incredible cinematic sequence. Like, you could do, if you were to adapt a Captain America story, this story actually makes a lot of sense as a contender for that kind of weird science aspect to Captain America, which I think we've touched on before. I recently watched a movie from 2013, and I won't spoil anything, although I'm kind of spoiling it because I'm bringing it up in relation to this. But it's a found footage religious horror called The Borderlands. It's a very small indie movie, and it's about a haunted church and a Vatican consultant who sort of investigates hauntings and religious events and miracles to potentially disprove them. And it's him and a video editor who's just some guy visiting this church and filming everything on these little headsets. So that's the gimmick. That's why everything's filmed, because they had these headsets on to validate what they're seeing. And I will say no more as to what happens, because it gets very freaky. But for a small independent British film with not a lot of budget, the imagination is fantastic. And let's just say, some of what we've been reading, there's a bit of a echo.
Okay.
Very bleak movie, really upsetting ending. Just got it.
Okay. So that column broke through the wall, and so they're going out, but then they run into Zola's freaks, as she says. Cap says it's the big-eared sentry and his savage companion.
We can barely make out the big-eared character. It's more the clawed character we see in the... That's what I'm saying. That so much of this, it feels rushed. That so much of this is like condensed into these little 6-grid panels. Yeah, I think a contemporary comic would give a lot more space to all of this.
Yeah, and it would take 2 or 3 issues to get this one story into it. Yeah. So Cap squares off against the clawed beast, and it's smushing his face. And the sentry guy with the big ears approaches Donna Maria, and she's throwing the chemical jars at it, and it runs away on fire.
Yeah. Like, she basically like lobs this acidic flammable compound into an oversized pair of ears and an eyeball. Again, my phobia is getting triggered. We don't see that, though. We don't see that, but like the sort of implied action of what she's just done physically to this giant exposed organ in front of her is upsetting.
And she's still got a vial of chemical that she wants to pitch at the other monster, and she's got him around the neck with one arm, but the monster takes the vial from her, and she lets go. It's kind of lunging at her, but then Sharon appears and shoots at the monster, and it hits the vial, which blows up, and I guess it completely blows the monster to smithereens. She says it completely destroyed your attacker.
Yeah, and when I was reading this sequentially, and we get to the explosion panel, and we can see Donna Maria silhouetted in the explosion.
Yow!
Yow, which is almost like bye, ow, bye,
yow.
I was afraid that was it for her. I was afraid, oh, well, this is how Jack Kirby's resolved the 2 potential love interests for Captain America. He's just killed off one. But no, she survives. Cap, however, doesn't do as well. And it's interesting because she was closer to the explosion than Cap was. And she suffers no apparent injury. And Cap, the super soldier, does pretty badly out of it.
Well, now they find that he's blind, but they say that it's from the monster smushing his face, not from the chemicals.
Oh, I see. It was the injuries to his face.
Yeah, one of the women off panel says it was that horrible creature. It injured his eyes.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah. But it looks, he visibly, because the art, it looks like burns to me. It looks like his face is swollen.
Well, yeah, it does look like his eyes are like swollen shut.
Yeah. But it was the scratches from the creature.
Pretty alarming image, especially a couple pages later in the light of an explosion. On no numbers on the pages, but yeah, it's a couple pages after this.
Yes. I see it there. Yeah, when we get to that, yeah.
And Red Skull walks up. He says, "You're blind, Captain America. You've escaped the fate I'd planned for you, only to stumble into another just as bad." And of course, Cap recognizes his voice.
I mean, let's take a moment. Sorry, let's take a moment. The fate he'd planned for him was for his face to be worn by Hitler.
Yeah.
Now he's blind. I would argue Hitler piloting your face is worse than being blind. I would argue.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being insensitive, but, letting a monstrous genocidal maniac loose on the world with your face, is a net bad.
It's going to be a life-changing event.
Yes, for many people.
Yeah, well, including you. Even if you get your face back, everyone will think that you're the guy who did all that stuff. Yeah.
Or you're super Nazi. Whatever Hitler chose to call himself. Versus the personal misfortune of losing one's sight. And as he reassures the Sharon and Donna Maria, it's a temporary issue for him. As soon as the scratches heal, I'll be as sound as a dollar. And again, an unfortunate phrase in the year 2025. But
now Sharon's got her gun and she's ready to shoot at the skull, and he says only a Nazi could pull that trigger. I'm not quite sure what that. Only a Nazi would be evil enough to shoot at Red Skull.
Have you not encountered this before? So this is a recurring trope that's deeply irritating. And so the example, the most egregious recent example that I can think of is J.J. Abrams' Rise of Skywalker, which was the last major Star Wars movie. And again, it's a relatively recent movie, so spoilers ahoy, I guess, but I think most people have seen it. We're going to see it. What I'm alluding to is there's a sequence where a ancient, deadly, villainous, monstrous character is confronted by a hero. And then he's like, if you kill me, you'll be much worse than me. And I was going, just kill him. Just kill him. Just kill him now. Kill him.
What does his opinion matter?
Yeah. Oogie boogie, but like Star Wars always has this weird supernatural morality, which I don't quite understand. But no, you can kill him. That's good. That's a good thing to do. Just kill him. But this idea that a hero can't kill, and it's interesting because it's a confusion of two things. It's a confusion of what pacifism means, which people frequently get wrong, and it's also a confusion of like actually direct action. Like you can put an end. You can actually kill the bad guy. Like you can do that. That is something you could do. Both in the interest of self-defense and protecting the lives of others. But Super Red Skull here delivers the same sort of only a Nazi can pull that trigger. Makes no sense.
No.
You can kill Red Skull. You can kill him a lot. Go for it.
Kill him very much.
Yes.
And Red Skull punches out Cap, and Sharon's saying, "You'll pay for that. I swear it. I'm bringing you in to stand trial for every crime you ever committed, and you've got enough murder ones to make you swing on 100 different scaffolds." And of course, he poo-poos that idea. And
you have to read it. You have to read his put down.
To have the confidence of youth, one's fantasies and reach for the stars. Exercise one's fantasies and reach for the stars. Foolish snip of a girl, you won't bring me to heel. Time may do it, but never one such as yourself. I am of a kind that dares to seize the throat of a world. I hope you tell that to the judge, mister. I think that's Cap speaking.
It's like every pundit talking down to people who support Zoran Mamdani in New York. The confidence of youth. You don't know how the world works. I'm 96 years old. Listen to me.
And the castle is, again, kind of distorting. It looks like an earthquake. Feels like an earthquake, they say. And then an eruption follows. The eruption which follows literally lifts the stone fortress and blows it apart. And the three of them are running away. I'm not sure. I guess Skull runs off in a different direction. Oh, no, he's got his arm around Cap's neck, and he's going to kill Cap. Then with excellent timing, this tower starts falling over towards them, and it's going to land right on Red Skull, it looks like, but they both run off in different directions and avoid getting crushed by the tower. And that's the last we see of Skull in this issue.
Yeah, he's going to find another billionaire to impersonate. He'll be fine.
And there's a big explosion too, which injures Cap further. And just then a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents show up. They've been following a tracer that was on Sharon's arm, and she's not sure if Skull noticed that it was there or not, but if he did, he didn't say anything.
Yeah, and this is the bit where I was calling out earlier on this sort of diminutive term that the soldier uses to Sharon, because she actually has a go at them. She says, "I thought you men would never get here. What delayed you?" Like, she's angry. And then the reply is, "Red tape, kid." Again, this is sort of dismissive. I think I said pet earlier. It's kid. Again, like, you're a child. You know, you're just a woman. And she, moments before, has just had a go at Donna Maria, calling her hysterical. So, maybe she's absorbed a little bit of misogyny on her own side. But yes, the soldiers get involved, and they did nothing, accomplished nothing, contributed nothing, but they carry Captain America away. So
yeah, they're just there to pick up the pieces. It's not their names on the cover of the comic, so
True.
So they all get out of there. There are more explosions, more flames, and on their armada of helicopters. I guess this is before the what was that shield? Oh, the helicarrier that in the comics anyway kept crashing.
Yes. They really shouldn't fly that thing. It's a public risk.
Well, of course, S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't exist in the comics anymore either, not only in the MCU. But they get everybody out of there, and Cap's lying in a hospital bed in his uniform.
Yes. Which they'll later remove. I enjoy how this becomes more pronounced in the next storyline. But the sheer uptick of the pacing, like, all right, let's get to the next thing. Okay, let's get to the next thing. Let's wrap this up. And then they'll just fly away, leaving behind this Swiss chalet with weird Jewish mysticism and magical spells and giant homunculi that look like castles. Yeah, let's just leave. Let's just go. It's like, maybe wait for the fire to die down, because there's stuff here that could still be recovered. That's, I think, highly interesting.
Yeah.
No, let's just go. And then there's that line. Moments later, the copter squadron leaves the flaming mountaintop. Villainy has had its hour, and now it passes, leaving behind its familiar byproducts: death, destruction, and injury. Okay, the fallout of evil. Right. Destruction. Yes. Injury. Absolutely. Death. Who died? No one died.
Maybe the one with the big ears.
Maybe Doughboy? Yes. Okay. The homunculuses. Yes. Who were sort of not really alive, but
Maybe Hitler.
Hitler's brain. Oh no!
Darn.
Damn it! He's fine. He's just a clone.
Probably. Next, Cap is minus his sight. The Falcon is minus a partner. It's perfect weather for the Night Flyer.
Yeah, and again, the Falcon is minus a partner. We get to the issue. Not really,
No.
because like when we last saw the Falcon, he was stuck in a giant monster's nest. That's the last time we saw him.
Yeah.
And when we meet him next, he's like, "Yeah, that's fine."
Yeah, we just skip all that. There's no payoff on that. It's just like, oh yeah, well, that all got taken care of off panel.
We were all bored of that. Even Jack Kirby was bored of that. Nobody cares. Literally, nobody cares about what happened with that monster. Was it Monster 116 or something like that? Yeah, that whole storyline just gets
Owl-looking thing.
Giant owl bear.
Coming up, issue 213, in which we meet an assassin called the Night Flyer. This podcast is part of the Deconstructing Comics Network, where we're grateful to our supporters on Patreon. Patrons get exclusive extra content. Pledge $2 a month or more and get Batman 66 podcast Bat Bits, where we're discussing correspondence from writer and script editor Lorenzo Semple to producer William Dozier about his concept for Batman 66, and a 1967 TV Guide write-up of Yvonne Craig entering the show as Batgirl. At $4 a month, you also get our monthly show Silver Age Batman, where I'm moving through the book Batman in the 50s issue by issue, discussing each story and sometimes laughing at them, with a rotating second chair of Paul, Emmet, Patrick, or Kumar. Follow our Patreon for free and you can hear the first 2 episodes of both Bat Bits and Silver Age Batman for free. Check it out at patreon.com/deconcomics, and thanks for your support.
Hello, I'm Ken Holtzhauser, and if you're looking for something new in comic books, may I recommend my newest comic, The Quick and the Dad, a love letter to the DC, Marvel, Archie, and Harvey comics of my youth. This comic has everything. It has spaceships, dad jokes, alien invasions, time travel, supervillains, and so many bad puns. Hopefully you'll like it. It's the cutest comic you've never heard of, and it's available today in print and digital from indieplanet.com. That's The Quick and the Dad. Join that other dynamic duo, won't you?
Issue 213. On the cover, we've got this character, the Night Flyer, and Falcon's lunging at him, but Nightflyer says, "Too late, Falcon. No one can keep me from my victim." And he's shooting at someone in a hospital bed, and there are other guns drawn in the foreground shooting at him. And we see Steve Rogers with a bandage over his eyes and a box with an arrow pointing to him that says, "Only Marvel would dare it. Blinded, hospitalized, Cap fights his deadliest battle."
Dare what? What are we daring?
Doesn't seem like that much of a dare. An injured hero? Gee, I've never seen that before.
I do find it interesting that we see as well in the topmost left corner of the panel itself, cover panel, we see the Night Flyer's glider and its weird little glyph on it. And we know Kirby, he loves a glyph, particularly in a sort of cyberpunk setting. He loves his glyphs. He loves his like. I was reading this storyline in the Night Flyer, and when we actually get to the substance of what the Night Flyer is and what he does and his whole deal, I was reminded of William Gibson's early like post neuromancer novels where he gets into all these weird ideas about, if you look at it, a circuit board is a lot like a voodoo rite. And you're going, okay, William, well, we'll go along with you on this, but I don't know what you're building to. And then he sort of mixes in mysticism and technology, and that's his flavor of cyberpunk. And I was reading this comic, I was going, did Jack Kirby invent cyberpunk? Because he's also got this idea of codes and gods and spirits being communicated with by technology and all this kind of stuff that will become very de rigueur in the 80s and 90s in the sort of cyberpunk subgenre. Jack Kirby. Add it to the list.
All right. Now, these opening pages, I mean, you immediately figure out that it's a dream because Cap's got his sight. So not much puzzlement here. And
also, one of the dudes has like a super bayonet. If you see that, that's a crazy bayonet. It's like a manga bayonet.
And he's looking for the Red Skull, and he finds, it looks like Red Skull and a bunch of other Red Skulls. Clones, I suppose.
Clones again, yeah.
Then pass through the door of death and take me if you can. I've grown in strength and number. And so, he's fighting Red Skull here, or Red Skulls, for several pages. And eventually he shouts out loud, "I'll destroy you, Red Skull," and he wakes up. And he's, of course, in the hospital bed with the bandage on his eyes. And Falcon is there, or what's his other identity?
Sam Wilson.
Sam, yeah. We just see his arm. He says, "Hey, hold it down, Steve. Come out of that nightmare before you collapse a perfectly good hospital bed." So Steve is awake. He realizes Sam is there. He calms down. Sam Wilson, you flaky feathered falcon, whatever that means. Sorry I gave you such a rough time.
The alliteration wasn't necessary there. That was poor. That was poor. Do you know what I like about this issue in terms of humor? I mean, it's dodgy, like dad jokes a mile a minute. But Sam and Steve just exchanging terrible, terrible puns for these two issues is kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
But they're all terrible puns. I usually find puns very annoying, but these ones are kind of so bad it's funny.
And Falcon wraps up the owlbear bit here. He says, "I flew into a nightmare of my own, only this thing was alive and 30 feet tall. They didn't call File 116 the monster file without reason." Cap says, "I understand that a SHIELD team yanked you from a nasty fracas." Sam says, "That's no lie, but the hassle hardly got started before that thing was totaled by heavy fire. It seems I'd wandered into what SHIELD had listed as a suspected area." Cap says, "Luckily for you, they suspected right."
It's one of those stories. It's like that trope of if the hero hadn't actually done anything, everything would have been fine. If you hadn't gone or done anything, it would have been fine. You actually just made it more complicated.
And here's where Sam says, "Your female fans are clamoring for visitor passes, Cap, but SHIELD medics are notoriously uptight about important patients. I'm the first to get through to see you." Cap says, "Sharon, Layla, Donna Maria, this hasn't been easy on any of them, has it?"
I literally, I read these sequentially, although this occurs in the same panel, so I was reading left to right. So when I read the line about female fans, my immediate thought was, is Jack Kirby trying to start some Captain America Beatlemania shtick? Is that what's happening now? There's going to be like all these girls on the street going, "Oh my God, Captain, I love you!" and they're all wearing like the American flag on their clothes and everything. And they got Captain America merch. They've got novelty songs. I don't know. That's where my brain immediately went. But no, it's Donna Maria and Sharon. It's fine. It's two women.
So then wheeled into the room is a guy whose face is completely covered with bandages. And this is a defector. They just call him the defector, who is... it's a top secret thing, his identity and whatever, and the room is heavily guarded, supposedly. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be a roommate to Cap. And yeah, Sam leaves in a flurry of dad jokes. If they're not, I don't even quite follow this dialogue here. Sam says, "The room's filling up. I better split, pal. I'll give the girls the good word and drop in on you as soon as I can." Steve says, "Good deal, Sam. Tell Sharon not to worry about my sight. I'm getting positive reports each day." Then Sam says, "Oh, I loved your Old Man River number, comedian. Call me if you get to Swanee River. I'll pack a 38. Cap says, "Take off, mister. It's not cricket to shoot a sick man." I don't know where the Old Man River thing even came from.
Oh, he just said it. Captain America just said it in relation to the defector. So it's a reference to a song.
Oh yeah, 2 panels before. Okay, yeah, I know the song, but he's classified material, like Old Man River. He must know something, but don't say nothing. Okay, I'd forgotten already by 2 panels later.
And Sam is making fun of his frame of reference, which, because he's 20 years out of date, which the movies will make much more hay with, obviously. But I thought most effectively in The Winter Soldier, when it depicts Steve and Sam meeting for the first time, and they start having a conversation, and then Sam mentions something, and apparently in different territories what we see next changes, but Steve has a list on a notepad of things he's missed that he's going to check out. And one of them was like Trouble Man, like the soundtrack for Trouble Man, which I think Sam gives him. But he had a list of all these like different kinds of music, movies, things like that. And I thought it's a gorgeous little detail. And yeah, I like that these two moments are sort of parallel, or Sam is joshing him on the fact that his references are quite out of date.
19th century, I think.
Yes.
So then it's night, and Steve is awakened by a rustling at the door, and he thinks it's one of the guards. And he says, "Hey, fella, make a little less noise, will you? I'm trying to get some sleep." And the guy says, "Shut up or you'll get what he's getting." And he's got a club raised above his head. So Cap says, "That sounded like a threat, mister," and lunges at him. And they get into a fight, and Cap thinks, "Oh, you're a sleeper agent, planted inside S.H.I.E.L.D. for an act of sabotage." And the guy says, "Wrong, dummy. I'm here to make a hit, but I can make 2 for the price of 1. And whacks Cap in the face. And he's ready then to club the defector, but Cap stops him.
Yeah.
And there's a fight for a couple pages.
Yeah, now all of this kind of gets complicated later because it turns out there is a sleeper agent. There is a mole. There is somebody on the inside. And you would have thought if an assassin was being sent into this room to kill this defector, that they would have given notice, "Oh, by the way, Captain America is also in this room."
Yeah.
Come prepared, if you're going to, he's blinded. So like, you have a slight advantage, but maybe shoot him first, or maybe just throw a hand grenade into the room and walk away. I don't know. I'm giving supervillains ideas, but it does sort of the later reveal that there is a compromised oversight of this defector's care does complicate this. Because, the idea is he's just this assassin goon who's been sent in to hit this guy over the head with a club. But apparently he doesn't know that Captain America's there.
Yeah, so some other agents come in, and Cap tells them, "S.H.I.E.L.D.'s got a problem, men. The defector is #1 on somebody's hit list. We've got to tighten security, and I'd also advise issuing a standby alert to the Falcon."
Oh, and he hit the guy out the window.
Yeah.
We didn't mention that bit. He punched him out the window. Unlike Sharon, Steve can kill somebody and not be a Nazi. Even though he didn't mean to. He was blind. I guess he's fine. He didn't see what he was doing, literally. But we don't get any answers from this guy because he's now pavement art. And that's like... That's the end of that character's involvement. But he was wearing a S.H.I.E.L.D. outfit and everything. So again, I would have thought, hey, you've got a leak. Get the defector out of here. This is compromised. But, whatever.
So then we join a couple of new characters. One is a kind of tough-looking bald guy named Kligger. And he's with a younger blonde woman with some
Veda.
cleavage showing.
She's very
where is her name?
Emma Peel. Veda, he says it later on. She's sort of giving the Avengers, the show Avengers on the UK, where you had that the lady with the leather catsuit. So it's sort of suggestive of that, and her hair is done up in the sort of bouffant style. But yes, they are upset that this guy they sent in with a monkey wrench didn't do the job.
Yeah.
So,
and get
not a very
this, it was
sophisticated operation.
foiled by a blind man, he says. So then she wants to send in her guy, which is the Night Flyer. The Night Flyer's record is perfect. He's the living embodiment of sudden death. Living death, okay. Among all the hitmen, he is most feared and respected. Now, but Kligger has some reservations about this guy. It sounds too weird to trust. He's heard stories about him that bother him, which is a little surprising for a guy who's clearly pretty evil. I mean, he looks evil. He's in a comic book, so I assume he's evil. But this guy's too evil for him. He's wearing purple and green.
He's evil. He's wearing secondary colors. He's evil. But no, his kind of evil is, hit a man over the head with a blunt object. That's fine. Hit a man in bandages, strapped to a bed with a blunt object. Absolutely. This guy who, as Veda describes, a cultist, a mystic, a ritualist dedicated to the art of killing. And it gets really interesting when we meet Night Flyer as well, like what this means. And it's sort of, we're straying back into Kirby's like New Gods idea of like divine assassins. And because you had that god character who was like basically a personification of assassins. With all his super tech. So these sort of concepts are bleeding into the Captain America stuff again. And I really find it interesting. And when we meet him, I guess for the sake of the listeners, we're going to be meeting a character who's like Danger Diabolique, which I think I've mentioned on this podcast before, but it's Danger Diabolique meets Thanos. Like, where you have that ritualistic worshipping of death. But in this sort of super science context, like he's got all this weird tech, but it's all about bringing him close to an approximation or a manifestation of death as a concept, and he's its instrument. That's how he's presenting himself. Why he's called the Night Flyer? Again, Kirby, man, amazing concepts. Terrible bloody names. Just awful names.
But yeah, Night Flyer has its billed as some kind of communication device that Alexander Graham Bell had nothing to do with. And it seems to be, I don't know if it's a recording. We don't get a lot of explanation.
It's like a mantra. He's listening to some sort of weird mantra, but it's communicating with him. So there is the implication is it's not a recording. The implication is that it's an intelligence. Now, this is where I started thinking William Gibson, because that's where you get into the idea of sort of high form intelligences that we can manifest through technology. And William Gibson makes it about voodoo, but here you've got the similar idea. There's something divine happening here, something mystical, as Veda says. And yeah, I just find all of this really, really juicy. And I was like, my God, why haven't I heard about the Night Flyer before? Why haven't there been like Marvel events featuring the Night Flyer and his weird antics? And then I find out why.
Yeah.
The next issue.
Yeah, it's a character who should have stuck around because we don't.
He's interesting. He's got a good gimmick.
We don't get enough explanation of him. But yeah, from this device, he's hearing, "Do you live, act, and worship perfection?" He says, "I am perfect in my dealing with life and death." And the device says, "Is perfection the power over life and death?" He says, "Mine is the power over life and death. Then all that lives is subject to the power of your perfection." Nightflyer says, "It is impossible to defy perfection. It is impossible to defeat perfection. I can't be stopped. I am the perfect man." So then he takes off on his glider.
His weird glider, which we've mentioned before, and it's got those glyphs on the underside of it. But yes, he's been stripped back to pure intent. Like he's just an instrument of death. That's all he is. And he's hyper-focused. And it's a really, really interesting idea. But unfortunately, we're not going to, as we've alluded to multiple times, spend a lot of time with him.
Yeah. And so he is over the shield complex, and he says there's nothing coming from below, so it must be coming from above. And sure enough, Falcon is above him.
Yes.
And says, "Hi, fella, I'm the welcome bird. Just ease down this kite before I stomp a hole through it." But Nightflyer manages to swing his feet around and kick Falcon, standing on the top of the glider. And Falcon thinks that almost ruined my dental work.
Yes. But like the implication is the Nightflyer has run the numbers. He's made this calculation, and he's like, well, no one's shooting me from below, so I'm going to be attacked from above. So he's anticipated this attack, and he responds because he predicts the moment it's about to happen. Now, Falcon doesn't help matters by announcing himself. But yeah, Nightfire, again, he's run the numbers, and I swear to you, man, like, 2 decades later, there were half a dozen characters like this in comics by Grant Morrison and everyone else. There's so many characters like this. Like, I have a computer for a brain, and I can do I can anticipate every possible action, and I am fully aware of my environment, and I'm fully conscious of my every instinct of my body, and my body's an instrument, and blah 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 blah. And for all the shit Jack Kirby gets for these Captain America issues, where he was saying, "Oh, it was a bit overdone. Oh, it was a bit," I'm telling you, people are lifting from this. This is something I've seen repeatedly as a teenager, and I thought those guys created those characters types. I was convinced, oh wow, what an innovation. What a great idea for a villain. Jack Kirby. He already done it.
Right. So now Falcon is recovered and goes after him, and we see a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents shooting at Nightflyer, and one almost hits Falcon. Yeah, Falcon keeps chasing him over buildings and right into the hospital room, but Nightflyer has studied a detailed layout of the hospital, so he knows that he can dodge Falcon's launching himself at him, and Falcon will crash into the strongest piece of furniture in the room. Although it's not that strong because it's a wreck in the next panel.
It gives him just a moment of delay, enough for Nightflyer to immediately shoot his target. Or go, oh no!
Yeah, so he shoots at the defector's bed, but then it turns out it's a dummy in the bed. And the dummy has
he takes 5 shots.
Holes,
He takes 5 shots.
5 holes in it, but no blood coming out.
Yes.
I suspected as much, but I had to shoot first and verify it afterward. Falcon says, "Oh, knock it off. You came, you goofed, and now you're conquered."
There is another issue to this story, and thank goodness, because when I got to that, when Falcon's like just taking the piss out of him, you messed up. I was so disappointed because up to this point, it's been half convincing that Nightflyer is this deadly assassin. And like I was saying, he's run the numbers and he anticipates everything, and he's able to in real time react much, much faster than a normal human would. But this sort of, I had to verify that it wasn't. I already anticipated this, but I had to verify this. That's nonsense. That is so annoying.
It's Pee Wee Herman. I meant to do that.
Yeah.
The comics we discussed in this episode are included in the volume Captain America and the Falcon, The Swine, published by Marvel. Follow us on Blue Sky at Decon Comics. On Facebook, we have both a page and a group. Those are linked from deconstructingcomics.com, as is our YouTube channel, where our episodes are posted every week as videos of a single image. You can comment on our episodes on YouTube or on our site, or drop us a line at mail@deconstructingcomics.com, or talk to us. Click the Leave a Voicemail link on the left sidebar of our site. Are you making a comic? Send it to us and we'll do a Critiquing Comics episode about it. Our theme is by J.B. Anderton. The music backing the promotion of our Patreon is Change by Jazar. Next week we flash back to 2013, when Tom Spurgeon joined Kumar and me to discuss the work of Carl Barks, who wrote and drew many a Donald Duck comic between 1942 and 1966. He also created the character of Scrooge McDuck. We focus on the Barks volume called Lost in the Andes. That's next week. Till then, this is Tim, and thanks for listening to Deconstructing Comics.